So, good morning. It's Thursday, January the 14th, and this is The Drill. Thank you very much. The prayer of the day from the book titled Daily Declarations for Spiritual Warfare by John Lockhart. Just as my Son is in me, and I am in him, so too I am in you. As long as my word abides in you, you can ask me for whatever you desire, and it will be yours. If you keep my word, you will always abide in my love. I am telling you these things so that my joy may remain in you, and that your joy may be full. You did not choose me, but I choose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit. But remember always that my Son did not pray that I would take you out of this sinful world, but he prayed that I would keep you from the evil one in this world. I've sanctified you by my truth and sent you into the world so that the world can know me and love my Son. John 14:20, John 14:17, and Holy Spirit, show me what is true. Keep living in me, for because you live, I will also live. You will help me and teach me everything that is in your word. I have peace, the kind of peace only you can give, so I will not worry or be afraid. Amen. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host and the only true conservative in the United States today. Today, say no, then negotiate, say yes with conditions. All that when I come back. Thank you very much. Say no. One of the things that we're always put in situations where there's yes or no situations, and we have a tendency to shy away from them, and for good reason. You can end up getting or feeling at least punished if you use the word no. There's a lot of people that just don't want to hear it, and some people, when you use the word no, will become violent. Little children, in particular. Anybody who's a parent knows that when a kid asks for something and you say no, very often they're going to go ahead and sulk or cry or throw a temper tantrum. So, and what happens with the dynamic of no is pressure. When somebody asks you to do something and you say no, will you help me move? No. Now you put yourself in the position where they're going to come back with a why not? Okay, so now you're in a position where you have to explain yourself, which adds also the pressure of outrage. Why should I have to explain myself to you? You asked, I gave you an answer, that's that. But that's not the way things are working. That's the way it should be, ideally. People just take no for an answer. Will you help me move? No. Okay, no problem. I'll go look for somebody else. But no, they want an explanation. And the thing with an explanation is then you're having to prove a negative. Prove to people why you should be able to say no or should not have to help them move in this particular case. So how do you get rid of that pressure? How you have to in life be able to say no. You're not an individual if you can't say no. It's just that simple. So to assert your individuality, to assert your privacy in particular, and with your privacy goes property rights, you have to be able to say no. When you have a property and you have a fence line or other way of delineating your property, and it's a way of saying no, this isn't your property, it's mine. No, it's not public property, it's my property. No, you will not trespass. So, how do you take the pressure off of this, of saying no? And it's vitally important that you be able to say no. Well, there's two other ways to do it. Besides saying no, you can say no and then negotiate. Or third way is say yes with conditions. So, and when you're doing that, the dynamic is you're shifting the burden of proof, and you're shifting the pressure back to the person that's asking the question. So you've got the person that comes to you and says, will you help me move? No, I won't, but I'll tell you what I will do. I'll give you some money to help offset the costs. So now he's in the yes or no position, and he can't complain. Because that's what a lot of people will do. If you say no, then they run around telling your friends, your mutual friends, wow, I don't know what's wrong with Ron. He's a real booger because he won't help me move. If he tries that after I've negotiated with him, I said, I'll give you money. If he refuses it, then I can tell my friends, hey, I tried to help. I offered him money. He refused. See, my hands are clean. I'm done with the situation. The pressure is now back on him where it belongs. The other way to do it is to say yes with conditions. And saying yes with conditions or even no with negotiation doesn't mean I have to negotiate in good faith, by the way. Okay? I can negotiate in bad faith. I can deliberately make a condition that I know they're not going to accept. For instance, they say, can you help me move? Sure I can, but you're going to have to go out and get an insurance policy. I'm going to have to see proof of that, proof of an insurance policy that indemnifies me against personal injury. So if I get injured, I throw out my back, I hurt my leg while I'm helping you move, that insurance company, that insurance policy will cover my medical costs. Okay. Now, are they likely to do that? No. Okay. Another way that's a little bit more reasonable is yes, but you got to go out and buy me a back brace. Okay. So depending on how amenable you are to helping them move, if you have no, I really don't want to help him move because I might injure my back. And then you think, well, you know what? I wouldn't mind helping him move if I had a back brace. So that's when you can say, you know what? I'll help you move, but you got to buy me a back brace. That's plausible. But either way, whether you negotiate in good faith or bad faith, it's back on them. The pressure is back on them. Okay, if they say no, no, I'm not going to go for that. I'm not going to get an insurance policy. I'm not going to buy you a back brace. Again, you're in the clear. You just put up your hands. You say, okay, have a nice day. I offered. See ya. Right? Now, this can also applies to politics. Now, let's look at the impeachment situation. There's nothing you and I can do about what's going on in Washington, D.C. directly. We can only operate on those people every 2 years. Take notes, and the people that are bad for this country, bad for their constituents, end up getting theirs, but only once every 2 years. And since we can only do it indirectly, our vote counts, but so does everyone else's. If we get outvoted, then we're still stuck with the same problems or people that we had before. But your friends and relatives and whatnot, coworkers, are going to come to you, let's say, about impeachment. Hey, Joe, what about impeachment? Where do you stand on impeachment? Or they might say, ha-ha, or something of that nature. Or, gee, I'm so glad that the president's getting impeached. And so pressure on you then, especially if they come and ask you, do you support impeachment? Because if you say no, then it's going to be obviously why not? And now you have to bear the pressure of trying to prove a negative, which is impossible. So the way to put the pressure back where it belongs on your friends, relatives, coworkers, whomever that is advocating impeachment or think it's a good idea, and when they ask you, is you say, no, but I'll tell you what I will do is I will support, let's say, impeachment of the vice president. Or if you want to impeach one of the cabinet members. Or another one that's even more realistic is to say, no, I won't support impeachment, but if you want to, if the Congress wants to censure the president, vote a resolution of censure, I'll support that. Okay? And then, of course, there's the third way, the final way, which is to say yes with conditions. And in this particular case, what that would mean is something along the following lines. Hey, Ron, where do you stand on impeachment? No, I won't support impeachment, I will support impeachment, but under the following condition. Planned Parenthood has to go. If you agree to support the idea that every Planned Parenthood clinic in this country has got to be shut down, and the Planned Parenthood organization has to be put out of business, then I'll agree. I'll agree to support the impeachment of the President of the United States. Okay? So again, you're putting the pressure back on the other person. They can't write you off as a wacko and an extremist and tell people, you got to ignore Ron, he's just some extremist, and you end up getting steamrolled, and you end up not really having much of an effect on people's opinions, the people that matter most to you, those around you. So what you're really doing in the largest sense of looking at this big picture is you are reframing the argument. When they come up to you and they put you on the spot, they're framing an argument, framing a debate in a particular way, or framing a situation in a particular way. Either or, yes, no, and so that puts you under the pressure. By going ahead and turning it in from a yes-no into a negotiation, one way or another, either by directly negotiating or by providing alternatives or providing conditions under which you will accept things. Now you've reframed the debate into a more business-like proposition, and when you reframe it, you can win. Very often the conservatives lose because the left sets them up to lose. They frame their arguments in such a way that the only way for the right to say no is to look like a kook in the process. Well, you support a woman's right to choose, don't you? That's one way to frame the argument. The comeback to that is, you support a baby's right to life, don't you? See? Those two different frames, two different ways of framing the argument. And so again, reframe the argument when you're getting it. Now we're already in impeachment mode, right? So they apparently have voted, the Congress did, to impeach the president. So now one of the things is that, of course, make note of the 10 Republicans that voted yes, and make sure they get none of your money, especially Liz Cheney. I mean, she's hated Trump from the beginning. And kudos to her, I guess, for having the discipline to say no to impeachment the first time around. But now I guess she really sees her opportunity and really wants to stick it, not only to Donald Trump, but to 75 million Americans. Well, she kind of forgets we can stick it back. And that's so. But anyways, keep the list of the 10 people that are not going to be getting your money. Also, what you want to do is reward the people that were loyal. So to let them know, let Liz Cheney and other people, because money crosses borders. Liz Cheney doesn't care what I think about her as a representative, but she wants my money. Okay, so that's one of the ways for people all over the United States to have an effect on races. Because again, money will cross borders. But let her know, hey, Liz Cheney, guess what? You're not getting a nickel of my money. I'm going to give my money instead to those people that remained loyal to the President of the United States. So there. Okay? Because again, we sometimes we get focused on punishment and we don't think about rewards. Okay? The people that are loyal deserve to be rewarded, and the people that are disloyal deserve to be punished. So it works out perfectly this way. The money you would normally give to Liz Cheney in her race now goes to somebody else. So, and again, say no, then negotiate, and say yes with conditions. Also, on all of this, it's not just the moving is a good analogy, but also child rearing. Any person who's a parent knows what I'm talking about. That if your child comes to you and says, "Mommy, can I have a candy?" And you know that if you just say no, they're going to throw a temper tantrum. So what you do instead is put the pressure back on them, and you say, no, you can't, but I'll give you an apple. No, you can't, but you can have some celery. No, you can't, but you can have something else. Okay, and then if they start to throw the temper tantrum, you can say, look, I'm trying to be reasonable. Okay, if you're going to act like this, you may as well go and take a timeout. And so the child learns that this kind of behavior is not going to work. Because the left is always going to use whatever they think it's going to work, and they'll use it over and over and over again until they get their way. And what happens is Republicans become demoralized and eventually give up, and then we end up with dope smokers all over the place and hundreds of thousands of babies being aborted. It doesn't have to be that way. Reframe the argument, win the argument. Again, in the case of a kid, you can do the other way is to say yes with conditions. Yes, you can have a piece of candy, but you got to clean your room first. And again, any parent that's been through child rearing knows what I'm talking about and knows the effectiveness of reframing the debate and putting yourself in charge, in control, or I should say back in control where you belong, and putting the pressure on the other person. Back in a minute. Thank you. Tomorrow we're going to be do more daily declarations for spiritual warfare. And again, I think it's very appropriate because everybody's talking about revolution and counter-revolution, and there's a lot of warlike analogies going on about where the country is at this particular point in history. So I think it's very appropriate to have our declarations for spiritual warfare, to constantly remind ourselves that ultimately we need to, for support and guidance, we need to appeal to God. So that concludes another episode of The Drill. Be honest, be smart, and be beautiful. I am Ron, and that's The Drill.